So welcome to the introduction for working with amino acids. Basically today, I want to look at figuring out what you need and then ordering stuff. So I'm just going to do an overview and then just the first step, because it can feel like there's so much to this process, but if you do it step by step, it's actually a whole lot easier to manage and to function with. Let me do share and do, is that it? Yes, that's it. No, that's not it. Let's try the other one. Here we go. So hopefully by now, if you're watching this video or if you're here live, you have already done the survey that is actually hosted on my website. If you haven't, there's a link below this video where you can click it and go get it. And once you take it, it emails you this record, and this is just a demo one that I did, of all the things you inputted, so you have a record of what you entered. But this is the page, and anytime you're interacting with me or anytime you're looking for assistance, this is what I'm going to ask of you. Is I need to see this section right here, because this is what's important for me. I need to see those numbers. Those numbers actually mean something to me. It's like I can look at those and go, oh, okay, you got that going on. Okay, cool. So this is your overall results, and then it's on the email. It's described what you need and just roughly how to do it, so that you don't need the book. You can actually get started. This ebook here, you don't have to buy it. You have it available in the playground. It's in the library, though. I'll give you a link to it in the next email that I send. You'll have a link to download this ebook. This is the book I wrote to kind of put the details together. This book here, which is also in the library, is the first book that actually put the big picture together that I'm aware of. There's a handful of authors that kind of figured out how the whole system works, and Julia Ross, sorry, was the first one that I'm aware of who got all of these different areas together. And in this first book, she didn't have acetylcholine. In the next book, she added acetylcholine. Or did I get that from another place? I don't know. She had many of the pieces together, and I added more pieces together because other people had found other elements. So step one, have those numbers handy, because we're gonna need those today. And then step two, we're gonna look at this here. So what that survey actually looked at was each one of the five neurotransmitters, main neurotransmitters, which, to go back to just an overview in case you weren't with us for that. So it's like, what if things aren't working in your body right, or if you're having issues with mood or energy levels or cravings, especially cravings. Cravings is a really good indicator there's something out of balance. It's likely that your body's not delivering, it's not doing things correctly, and it's not getting all the amino acids it needs. And the way that works is an amino acid is like a little messenger that the cells in your brain use to chemically connect everything together. So it makes everything plug together and work together. And so when you have enough dopamine, or the purple one, like your energy circuits just work. When your body says, okay, I'm waking up, it's time to turn on energy, all your circuits activate. If you don't have enough dopamine, when your body goes to say, okay, let's turn on the energy, and you only have like a quarter of the dopamine in your brain that your body needs, only a quarter of your energy circuits can talk to each other. And so they don't connect. So you feel like you don't have energy. And it's not that you don't have energy, it's that that you don't have the messengers in your brain, the amino acids, that let all of those circuits activate and turn on. And it's the same thing with serotonin and endorphins that allow you to feel positive and upbeat. The same thing with GABA that allows you to calm down and relax and not be intense or overwhelmed by things. And it's the same thing with acetylcholine. It helps your brain and your memory to store and process information. So it's like when you don't have enough of those amino acids, it's like the line is broken. Like there's just, things don't connect. And if you've been dealing with this for a while, it actually feels that way. It's like something's not connecting. Like it should work, but it's not. Like, and it's like just not everything's turning on, and you feel detached. And it literally is that. And it literally is as simple as taking some amino acids and you digest them, or they as actually doesn't take very long. You don't even have to fully digest them. As soon as they get in, they immediately start to go into your bloodstream. Your brain gets it. Your brain goes, "Oh, cool, we can turn on now. All right, let's be happy again." And it sounds overly simplistic, but it works. That's actually literally how it works. And so if you've taken that survey, and I'll ask you here, and this is a summary of the survey that you took. So if you ever looking to glance back and see without taking that whole big survey again, you can look at this page in the book. This is page 13 in the manual. By the way, we're looking at that ebook that you're going to get. So I just have to just kind of scan and see which ones of these seem like you have them in the last 2 to 6 months, and just get a sense of what level they're at. If they feel like, nah, I don't really have that, then that's cool. If you feel like, yeah, I have that a little bit, or yeah, I really have that, like you want to make note of each one of these areas. So I just have to perceive, do you feel depressed, flat, bored, apathetic, lethargic, or funky? Low mental or physical energy, like you feel tired a lot? Low motivation, low drive, low enthusiasm, difficulty focusing or concentrating. Like you wake up, I used to wake up and it's like I couldn't actually, it would take me hours to actually get moving. Many people who need to drink coffee in order to get their morning started have an issue in this area, because it's like you're slow to wake up. Like low stamina, you run out of energy quickly. If you have cold hands or feet a lot, that's an indicator. Also, cravings are an important telltale sign. If you crave caffeine, stimulants of any kind, whether it's things like Adderall or some of the other substances like that, or whether your energy drinks are your thing, or a lot of people are sweets. For me, even chocolate used to be a thing that, like, if this would get low, I'd want sugar chocolate or caffeine. How many people have this come up for you as yeah, I got that rolling?
Jed, I get that, but only usually about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like I'm usually really active for about 4 hours, and then sometimes I crash then.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'm okay until about 4, but then I crash, and then I actually can't get myself back until like a full night's sleep.
Yep. Thank you for saying that. I used to have that as well. When you get, like, at night, your body kind of does a lot of repairing, catching up, and it may fill your brain with what it needs. And then as you process through your day, you kind of use it up, and you may run out of the dopamine that you need in your system. So what you might do is take the amino acid related to dopamine later in the day, like not take it in the morning. Or you may find, like when I had this, I didn't realize how much I got used to operating on a small amount of energy. Because even when I felt good in the morning, if I would take my amino acids, I would even have more energy. Like I would feel stronger. So instead of having enough energy, I actually had an abundance of energy. which felt good for a change because I hadn't had abundance of anything for a long time. So anybody else thoughts about this dopamine category? Okay. So this one is actually probably the most common. The next two are the most common. Feeling negative, cynical, pessimistic, worried, or anxious is a sign of not having enough serotonin. Automatic negative thoughts. This one is a really strong indicator. If your brain just won't shut up and it keeps just giving you stupid negative thoughts, like it judges everything, and you can't turn that off, that's often a really strong sign of low serotonin. Unconfident, self-critical, guilty, or low self-esteem. Frankly, you probably can't tell from the way I am now, but I had that most of my life. I just was never confident, I was always critical. I always felt guilty or wrong. I always had low self-esteem. And it wasn't until I actually took an illegal drug that, by the design of that drug or the nature of that drug, it activates all the energy circuits in the brain. It floods serotonin, GABA, acetylcholine, and dopamine. And all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, I found a new me. And I knew it wasn't the drug. I knew it was me. But it's like, how do I get back to that? And that's what led me to amino acids. It's like, I know it's possible. I know I can be, like, I'm naturally confident and I'm naturally strong and I have a self-esteem, and it's like, where did it go? why didn't I have it? Because my whole life I've had low serotonin and I didn't know it. I had no way of defining that. If you feel obsessive, perfectionistic, or a control freak, bing. Irritable, impatient, edgy, or angry. Like people who are angry a lot, or they just like will quickly snap about almost anything, and it doesn't matter what it is. They just kind of get edgy, and then it's like everything after that just keeps being edgy. Indicator of low serotonin. If you're shy, fearful, nervous, or panicky, it's another way of expressing low serotonin. If you have friendships, relationships, hobbies, or interests, and your serotonin goes low, you just aren't interested in being friends, connecting with people, relationships, hobbies, interests. You just kind of become a vegetable. Like you're like, I just don't want to do anything. Like it's weird, but it does that. If you have strong PMS, fibromyalgia, TMJ, migraines, IBS, or asthma, it's also low serotonin. And I've recently been working with more people around migraines who've like tried all the medications, nothing worked. And I just put them on this program here and their migraines went away for the most part. So like even like it's quite amazing. Restless sleep, awake often, or night owl. If you have lots of difficulty with sleep stuff, serotonin, taking serotonin before you go to bed, and even waking up in the middle of the night. I'll take serotonin in the middle of the night if for no other reason when I wake up in the morning I feel better. But if I'm having difficulty sleeping, I'll take serotonin and GABA. It's just easy to go back to sleep. This is more extreme, but if you have anxiety attacks, panic attacks, or suicidal thoughts, it is directly linked to serotonin. I used to have those actually quite a bit many years ago. And so I know what it feels like when it comes up. And when my serotonin gets low, I can tell like I'm getting near that territory. Like if I skip my serotonin for a couple cycles, like I can feel it starts to get low. It's like, oh, that's coming again. I just take serotonin, gone. I'm just kind of happy again. I feel positive and confident. Cravings, if you crave sweets, starches, wine, marijuana, especially in the afternoon or evening, I would also, let's say sugar in there. And starches is anything flour, like breads, pastas, because they provide a little bit of serotonin. When you consume sugar or starches or wine, marijuana, there's a little bit of serotonin that's released, but it's only a little bit. It's not a full amount. How many people notice this is an issue for them?
Yep, that's me.
Yep.
I've had migraines since I was 3.
Only
and I think
since
the
you were 3? Wow.
That's all I remember.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I think the
Right.
longest one I had was like 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I've noticed that they've started up again, especially after I I clicked yes on the class.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that I want to stick in there, thank you for saying that, is recognize that if you've had this low for a while, manipulation, my interesting point of view is that it's actually a deliberate thing, because what I've noticed is when those parts of your body aren't available to you, other energies move in and take over those segments of your body.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't have proof for that, but that's been my experience and some of the people I've tracked what's going on. Because as soon as you get this back up again, it's almost like you don't even have to clear. They're just pushed out because you're using the space. It's almost like you vacated parts of your body because the systems are not activated. And so other things move in because you're not home. It's like you've left the house, and so other things are squatters in your house. You take it back over again, they just leave. Yeah. So let's look at GABA. When you have plenty of GABA, you just naturally feel relaxed, stress-free, content, and calm about almost anything. Even if weird stuff comes up, it's just like, yeah, okay, I got to handle that. But you're not like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like you don't panic as much. You're just like, yeah, it's okay. So indicators of not enough GABA: you feel overworked, pressured. You're always under a deadline, even when you don't have one. There's just always that, I got to get things done. Trouble relaxing, you feel stiff, uptight, or tense. Your body, it literally is a body like you're on high alert. Upset, frustrated, or snappy because like you're under pressure. Even when you don't really have pressure per se, it feels that way. You feel overwhelmed, that no matter what it is, like the slightest thing, it's like, oh my God, that's too much. I can't get all this done. I can't complete this. You feel shaky or weak. If you're low GABA, you feel you need to eat when emotional, and you eat a lot and it's quickly. Often people will use food to kind of weigh down the body and almost numb out the body because it's like anxious, and food kind of numbs it out, puts a blanket over things. It calms things down. So if you find that you've got an issue with overeating and it's like binge eating, it could be a GABA thing. This one's weird, but sensitive to bright light, noise, or fumes. And I've had that. It's just the strangest thing. And you get GABA and all of a sudden you don't have any of those things anymore. Cravings for alcohol, food, eating, tobacco, or any drug that will relax you, any tranquilizing kind of drug. For me, I used marijuana here. It's like it would slow me down. It would calm my system down. But any of those are things that people will often crave to fix the problem of having low GABA. Anybody have experienced low GABA?
Yep.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel pressured all the time.
Yep.
I'm doing better, but I feel pressured.
Yep.
Almost 24/7.
Yep. That's how you know. Like you wake up in the middle of the night stressed out. And it's also, if your body can't fall asleep, or if your body can't stay asleep, often it relates to not enough GABA as well. So GABA and serotonin are both things that you could take before bed, and it really improves sleep quite dramatically. So this acetylcholine is the brain stuff, and mentally energized, focused, clear, feeling good, like feeling good because you got it together, kind of feeling good, and feeling responsive, like you just kind of react to things quickly, like it's easy to engage things, and you can be more social and extroverted. It's amazing. Most of my life, I was an introvert at the maximum level that you can imagine. Like if I saw nobody in my entire life, I would have felt fine. Like, and it's not the natural me, but that's how I experienced. But when you have low dopamine, you're more introverted. When you have low serotonin, you're more introverted. And when you have acetylcholine, you're more introverted. It's like the acetylcholine allows you to be extroverted. Serotonin allows you to be extroverted. Dopamine allows you to be more extroverted. Doesn't mean you'll be totally extroverted. You'll find you have your natural expression of it. But it's amazing how much that is a thing. So if you don't have enough acetylcholine, you can have poor focus, poor concentration. Like you can't stay thinking about anything. Your memory just feels shot. And you can have this like pressure in the head. It's like a headache, but nothing seems to solve it. It's not a strong headache. It's more like a mild pressure headache. If you have difficulty remembering names, faces, lists of things, or directions, that's an indicator. Misplacing keys, wallet, glasses, like you just have no clue where they are and you can have them in your hand. Like it's bizarre stuff like that. Difficulty finding the right words, or your thinking feels slow, or like you just feel confused about things. Introverted, again, preferring to be alone. A feeling of despair, a lack of joy. A fatigue that worsens with exertion. You do a little bit of even just thinking, like you're not even physically doing things. You're just like, you need to figure out stuff, or you need to process something, and you just start to get tired. That's another indicator. Chronic inflammation in the body. Low acetylcholine shuts down systems in the body that help regulate things. So it's like that will also create inflammation. The craving for this one is fatty or creamy foods. And it doesn't submit, like, so for me it was dairy, ice cream, cheese, deep fried foods, French fries, anything deep fried, because the body takes the fat and can convert that into acetylcholine. So the body actually does know how to get acetylcholine out of some things, but some of those, like if you're constantly eating fat to get that, it's not the most direct way to get it. Actually, eating eggs is one of the best ways to get acetylcholine in a natural way. Like 2 eggs a day or an egg a day is enough. They say at least 5 eggs a week should, for the average person, give you enough acetylcholine. But if your system is running low, or something's out of balance in your system, eggs may not be enough. Taking a supplement might be beneficial. Anybody have brain stuff going on? Any of these things going on?
What I wanted to ask is, what is it when you feel like people exhaust you sometimes? Like I'll go to a place, to a meeting, and then the next day I'm just wiped out. I feel exhausted.
So it's the next day?
Yes. And then I feel exhausted. Or even that day I'll feel exhausted, and it'll last till the next day.
So often for me, so how much of that is, so it's 2 things. One, when your amino acids are low, everything is running at less capacity. Like you have less energy, you have less, like everything is running low. So everything can be more taxing. So let's ask, so how much of that, having that low energy the next day or after an event, is related to amino acids, and how much is it something else? And what do you notice?
It's both light.
Both are light, yeah. And so in the something else, how much is it taking on energies from other people and points of view and taking on their universe and their reality? And how much is it something else?
It all seems light.
Even the something else?
Yes.
Okay. So I got a strong read for you in taking on stuff, like for me, if I take in, like I go into somebody else's universe, I'm in somebody else's space, and then I leave, and I'm still kind of like in their space, which is draining for me because I'm not in my space. I'm still trying to process their information. So anytime I leave an event, I do a clearing. I do the back to me, and I scan that, and I see what needs to be cleared. So I would say both of those things, doing the back to me after clearing after you are hanging out with people, and making sure your amino acids are right would be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and there's still something else in there. So, but start with those two. It make a huge difference. Yeah, plenty of endorphins. Now I'm not gonna push this. Matter of fact, if you have this going on, I'm gonna say wait till you've got all the other things handled before you consider looking at this. The reason is because the solutions that they have for amino acids in this are laboratory based, and I've not been impressed with how the body engages them. When the body engages them, they feel very natural, and for the most part, they just feel like they belong there. The endorphin solution feels more like taking a chemical. It's not, but it feels more like that. So I don't recommend you jump right into that. Balance the other ones first. But because when you balance these, your endorphin system seems to balance all by itself in many cases. But if you handle all of these, any of them that you have, and it's still not doing that, then do this last. So endorphins are comfort, pleasure, feeling good, just generally, but all of these are also comfort, pleasure, feeling good as well. So there's a lot of overlap here. But if you find that you're overly sensitive to emotional or physical pain after you've gotten these on, it's an endorphin issue. Well, actually, either way, it's an endorphin issue. History of emotional pain, like just ongoing. If you tear up or cry easily, hard to get over losses, like any loss just seems to go on forever and ever and ever. It can be an endorphin issue. Avoiding anything that could be remotely be painful, like if there's a perceived chance of something going wrong, you'll just totally avoid that because it's just so intense. Craving comfort foods, things that give you pleasure, things that feel rewarding or enjoying or numbing, or sugars, cookies, breads, pastas, pizza, cheese, ice cream, that kind of stuff. But again, there's so much overlap between this and the other ones that I don't recommend you rush right in on the endorphin thing. So what's fascinating, and I'm not going to go into this in depth, but it's in the book, is they found actually that your levels of your neurochemistry, your levels of dopamine, serotonin, GABA, acetylcholine actually affect your temperament, your character. Like what they used to think of as qualities that are just you actually have more to do with your neurochemistry. People who are loners, painfully shy, like nurturing, like they're the motherly type, but they're nurturing at their expense. Like they want to help everybody, but they aren't helping them. The drama queens, people who are self-absorbed, they just focus on themselves. Rule breakers, the rebels. The people who are they fight with everybody and everything about everything just for no reason. They just fight with people. The perfectionist, the procrastinator, people who just naturally seem to attract people to abuse them. People who are highly eccentric, people who seem like they just have unstable personalities, and I've experienced that one. And people who are completely suspicious of everyone and everything all the time. They found that all of these things that we think of as just that's the way that person is, could be that that's the way that person is just because their serotonin, dopamine, GABAamine, acetylcholine have always been low. Their body has always been out of balance. Anyone recognize any of these things in themselves?
I seem to have quite a lot of them.
Yeah. I did too. And what's fascinating and bizarre at the same time is like when you spend your whole life, I mean, I spent 30, 40 years in this before I ever had a different experience of it. And then all of a sudden it just all went away. And it's really freaking weird. But what I want to invite you into is the possibility that what if these are not necessary, that these are actually indicators that there's a long-term pattern going on of low neurochemicals in your brain. And so by solving that, it just goes away. Cravings. This is actually one of the biggest indicators, and it's one of the biggest indicators once you get on the program of knowing, like I could tell if I forgot my amino acids because I start craving sugar, or I start craving sweets, or I start craving fatty foods, or what have you. But you can actually tell what's going on with your system just by what you're craving with a little bit of practice. And so if you notice that you have cravings going on, it may be, if you have food issues, that it's like, oh, I can't stop eating, or I can't stop eating sweets. I used to be a person who ate more sugar than anyone else on the planet. Like, anyone who knew me back then would be like, wow, like he just eats sugar constantly. I did, because it helped balance my serotonin, it helped balance my dopamine, it helped relax my GABA, but it only worked for like 20 or 30 minutes, and then I had to eat more sugar, and then I'd had to eat more. So I was constantly drinking. Everything I drank was sugary, everything. I couldn't drink plain water ever. Like, it just, I needed to constantly have an infusion of sugar going on. As soon as my amino acids were balanced, I didn't want sugar. It was like, ooh, just water. Like, it was the most bizarre change that of any of the things that I ever had. So you'll notice if you've got cravings going on, they may very likely be, and I will say they probably are, highly related to your amino acids. So anybody have craving issues? Wow, loud car. Anybody have craving issues going on?
Yes.
Yeah, what do you crave?
Caffeine, sugar, fatty foods, champagne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all of that.
Cool. Yeah. Anybody else?
Hello, Jaden. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Yay. I've been craving recently things that I'm not usually crave. Or it's not even a craving, it's just something that it's like it's took over, like this is what I eat.
Yeah.
And it's not like even I eat it, but I find myself eating it.
Yeah.
And like stuff with anything that's baked, goes, bread, and a lot of cigarettes, like a lot of tobacco. I've never been taking marijuana or anything else, but cigarettes, I just smoke my head off.
Yep. So cigarettes are often serotonin, GABA, and can even be acetylcholine, which is kind of weird. But when you smoke, does it relax your body?
It like it appears, so there's a belief there that it shuts them thinking, or shuts something down, shuts awareness. Like like there's an attempt to shut something down.
Yeah. Okay. So what afterwards? So there's the negative side of it, but there's also you're doing it because your brain, it solves something for you. So do you feel more positive and stable afterwards?
I would not say positive, but more neutral and distant from whatever is there. And I'm like, what would it be? Relaxed, probably.
Yeah. Okay. So that sounds more of a GABA. That sounds more of a GABA kind of thing. Okay. Yeah. So then by taking serotonin and GABA on a regular basis, you may notice that letting go of cigarettes becomes way easier, because there's often when we crave things, even people who are addicted to drugs, you're craving them is because your body is literally requiring something, and it's using anything it can find to resolve that. But our society has not given us appropriate or useful things. They've given us a lot of garbage that sort of solves it but creates other problems. And I don't think it's an accident, but I'm not going to go too deep into that today. But so
thank you.
So a lot of the addictions that people have, whether they're food, sugar, nicotine, any of those things, to me are related to your neurochemistry. So resolving getting amino acids to resolve the neurochemistry clears a way big space where it's easier to let go of those habits, and some of them just fall away naturally. Like you just don't desire it anymore but if you have chemical addictions, those you may have to still let go of the chemical part of that addiction, but the part that resolves the brain won't be an issue. Cool. Anybody else around cravings?
Yeah, I don't really have them anymore because I just have such a restricted diet since I've been on a restricted diet.
So the diet's helped for you.
Yeah, it's helped a lot.
Cool. Yeah. And all of this is related to food. And I'm not going to get into the core of this, but the core of what a lot of this is your microbiome, your digestive system, your gut. And there are certain foods that kill or that don't feed the bacteria that produce amino acids. Like sugar is one of those things where if you consume a lot of sugar, it literally kills or overruns it feeds bad bacteria that don't support you, and the bad bacteria overrun and kill the good bacteria that actually produce the amino acids your body requires. So sometimes correcting your diet, or often correcting your diet, can also balance this. But for some people, you may have played with diet and it still is an issue because there can be other things. It can be more than diet. But I'm glad you found the diet piece because that's a big one.
I can feel a big difference since I stopped doing sugar.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I've only craved it once in the last couple of weeks, and then
Wow.
I did only once. Wow.
So Julie's been playing with amino acids, still refining it, but has been exploring with them for a couple of months now. That's cool. That's good to hear. Thank you. So this is really new stuff. If you're wondering why nobody knows about this, part of it is because there's no way to make money on this. The pharmaceutical industry wants to sell you drugs that manipulate your brain and actually don't do a very good job at that. They have horrible side effects. They barely solve the problems we talked about, and they have all these really wicked side effects. And it's known, and whatever, it's a big game that's being played in the medical community right now that doesn't let information get out there. They even tried to ban amino acids for a while, and they were almost successful, and something shifted and that stopped happening. But these are the leaders in the field. So if you want more information, and if you want any of these books, if you're in the Out Creating program, let me know, and I will get you these books. But this one you already have in the library, both the mood cure and the craving cure, and I can also get you the diet cure. Both of these are very good books, and I highly recommend it if you're into reading and you want more background on the whole amino acid stuff. Julia Ross is one of the pioneers. So, but recognize that most people have no clue. You mention it and they have no clue, and most of the industry still has no clue. For instance, for me, right now I'm up to about 100 milligrams, but my original dose of tyrosine, like what I needed for my energy, was somewhere around 60 to 80 milligrams. And if I took even as much as 80 to 100 milligrams at one time, I would have to go to bed. Like it has the opposite effect. I would be an overdose of too much amino acid. So my dose is about 80 milligrams, yet the packaging has 500 milligrams in it. So if you go to just take it, you overdose and you go, okay, this doesn't work for me. So that's the big contribution that I have is helping people to find their exact dose. And look at this one here. This is an amino shake, and they have all of these amino acids in there. But look at the tyrosine amino acid, 1,165 milligrams in one shake. In one shake, one scoop of this stuff that you mix in with your smoothie or whatever, it would have just put me out. I didn't take this product. I had somebody who worked with me showed me this label. It just blew my mind. So most people have no freaking clue what they're doing with this, dosage wise. So this is all really new stuff. So don't be surprised you look out on the internet for it. You're not going to find a lot of information around it. But fortunately, you have me and you have this information. So let me show you what to do with that. So hopefully by now you've done the survey. Now, the online survey that you've taken is not quite as precise or accurate. So if you feel kind of borderline about whether you should do this or not, I recommend you take the survey in the ebook. Print out those 5 pages and take the survey. And what you're doing differently is you're saying, do I have no mental energy? Yes, that's an issue. But you notice when you do it, it's like, well, yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Like there's a range. So I'm going to, in the book, I have you do severity. Like, well, how severe is it? From 1 to 10, how much is having no mental energy a thing? Well, from 1 to 10, it might be, I don't know, maybe a 3. So it may not be a big deal. Or it may be a 9. It may be a big deal. And then when you get done, you're going to actually add up all of those, and then you're going to create a total severity. And so what we do is we rate not by how many items you have, but the severity of all of those items. And then you'll circle whether you have it, whether it's a daily issue or an occasional issue. Because you can have it where there are certain things that it happens a couple times a week, or it can be things that it happens every day. And that also relates to it. So, so if you're kind of borderline and you're not sure, I suggest you print out these pages and take this and then add it up on the chart here. But let's go. I want to, if you've got the email about your numbers handy, I'm going to ask somebody to share with me the numbers that you have, if you're open to that. And I want to show you kind of what to do with those numbers. Anybody have numbers that they got from the email that they're open to?
I do.
Okay, cool. Whoops, let me I grabbed the wrong thing here. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So what are your numbers on dopamine?
15 of 23.
15. Okay, so on this scale, it's 115. Okay. And because this is, I'm actually using a different scale. Like you'll notice this doesn't go up to 23, it goes up to 230. It's a times 10 scale. And so what's your serotonin?
8 of 25.
8 of 25, so that's about 80. And GABA?
12 of 22.
12, so that's 120. And acetylcholine?
17 of 28.
So it's 170. That's around there. And endorphin?
9 of 15.
So about 90. Okay, cool. So I would generally say, and it's not a black and white, but anyone who's like over 50% on this chart, like over midline of this chart, is definitely going to want to do amino acids, like hands down, no question about it. If you're kind of in the middle of this chart, if like on this chart, I'm going to look at dopamine, like if your range is maybe somewhere in here, I'm going to suggest you explore with it, but it may not be a huge issue. If your numbers are really down low here, then you probably don't have to worry about that. You had what, 13 was it?
For which one? Oh,
for dopamine, I'm sorry.
15.
15, okay. So when I look at this, dopamine is a big issue. Not relaxing is a big issue. So pretty much if you have a high dopamine level, dopamine is definitely something you're going to want to make sure that you get stuff for. If you're some people may have something that looks more like this, that dopamine is not an issue, but serotonin and GABA is an issue, then you don't necessarily, you might wait with dopamine, and unless it's kind of a thing like you may have serotonin and GABA handle most of the issue and you won't have to worry about this one. But if you have this higher, then you're definitely going to want to look at this. The other variants that people have a lot, like you may have this a little lower, this a little higher, this a little higher, this a little lower, whatever. But if both of these are like over the 50 mark or over 5, you're going to want to address serotonin and GABA. Most people, if you have numbers at all on this chart, you're going to want to start with serotonin and GABA. The brain one is something that for you is also very high, but some people may have low for this, like your acetylcholine is fine. In this case, yours is, I lost your number already. You were at 180?
For 17 or 28?
170, cool. So you can use this chart just by taking off the last digit and kind of,
Okay.
17 is like between 15 and 18. So
Okay.
that's how I'm using the chart now. And then again, endorphin, let's just ignore this and let's focus on these first, because often endorphins will balance themselves when serotonin and GABA are balanced. So they'll kind of hang out together. I would definitely say for you, dopamine, serotonin, GABA, and acetylcholine, you're going to want those 4 categories. So
Yeah.
you want to cover those 4. Anybody else have numbers they want me to look at?
I have numbers.
Yes.
Okay, go for it, Alexandra.
Dopamine symptoms 11 of 23.
11, okay.
Serotonin 15 of 25.
Okay. GABA?
GABA 9 of
Whoops.
22.
Okay. I can't grab that button. Okay.
And acetylcholine or whatever that is.
Yep.
23 of 28.
Whoa. Okay. 23.
And endorphin is 9 of 15.
9. Okay. Very good. Yeah. So for those people who are high in the acetylcholine category, chances are you've had a lot of memory stuff and brain stuff going on for an extended period of time. What happens is as you get older, the body seems to, and I'm not going to say it's natural, though the world would tell you it's natural. I don't think it's natural, but what's happening societally is the pattern is as you get older, your body's producing less acetylcholine, though they don't know why. I have a good clue, but so this has been an issue. If you have a high acetylcholine rating, and high to me would be probably anything over 90, anything in this range, I would consider high. You are going to also want to do more, like we can provide acetylcholine and it's going to help, but it's not going to regenerate brain. And where I want to take you is in a place where you're actually regenerating your memory and your brain and you're getting systems to function again. There are people who have had, they're not people I've read of people, let me put it that way. I know it's possible, I'll put it that way, that there are people who've had brain issues for a long time who've gotten their brain to go back to what they feel is actually better than it was when they were younger. So it is possible to actually regenerate and get your brain online again. If your numbers are higher, I'm going to recommend that you do, and I'll show you, there's more that you can do. There's the minimal amount, and then there's an extra package of what I call brain regeneration. I'm going to recommend that you do brain regeneration.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes.
And what is that going to stand for? You said some brain issues.
I'll explain more when we hit it. Or actually, sorry, ask the question again.
Well, when you started to speak about it, something with the brain issues and getting old, and it really does appear like my brain is functioning as a totally different place.
Yes.
I forget everything.
Exactly. And what they've found is that as people get older, more of this seems to be occurring. It's actually becoming an epidemic in our society. Dementia, all of the old age brain things where people just, their memory goes, they're all related to acetylcholine. The indicator that's solid for all researchers is that the first thing they need to do is get them acetylcholine back. But different researchers haven't put together the picture. There's other systems that need to be online. They need to increase blood flow in the brain, and there are other elements in the brain. All of these are brain issues. So they're all kind of connected, but there's things I'm going to recommend that will help bring all of those systems back online more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jaden.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Because, and this is not just you or us. It's not just aware people, though aware people, I think, are more sensitive to the impact than non-aware people. Non-aware people are just kind of going through their life, plodding along and making it work. But aware people are like, wow, man, there's something wrong here. What is this? And they're making themselves wrong. But I will say that it's the planet, the condition, there's a lot of factors on the planet that are causing this, and I don't want to go into it now, but I will ultimately go into this. So here's the solution to this. Here's the main steps. The first one is to use the quizzes to figure out what's going on and figure out which categories you need to work on or you choose to work on. Then the next step is to consult the charts on the next pages to determine what amino acids to take. And the third step is to purchase or order the amino acids, a scale, and empty capsules. They're the empty, they're the empty, they're just like the clear little gel caps that you put the powder in, because most of them just have way too much powder in there, and it's just too much. It's overdose, so it won't work for you. Some people, it's fine. Their system is such where they can take a whole capsule and they'll be fine. What I've noticed is people who are sensitive, generally their system isn't built like a tank. Their system is built to be sensitive, and so they can't take a whole one, or it's overload and it makes it worse. Like, it actually feels like it's too much. So it's more critical for sensitive people to buy a scale, because you'll need to know how to measure it. You can't eyeball it. I've had people try it, and I've warned them it's not going to work that way, and they found ultimately it didn't work, and they ended up buying a scale. So save yourself the time and the trouble and get a scale up front, and I'll talk more about that. And empty capsules to put in just the amount you need. And there are ways to simplify this, and it sounds really complicated, but it's not. Okay, so this is the first step that this video is covering, these 3 steps. We're not going to talk yet. The next video is going to talk about trialing and what you do with all of the stuff. Right now, I just want you to figure out what you need to get and get it. So that's where we're going. That's where we're going today. So kid in the candy store, I love that. That's how I feel. I'm like, oh, amino acids, and oh, this, and oh, that. Because part of what I do is I'm an explorer, and I like to solve things. And I also like the chemistry component of it. So I love this, and someday I may show you a picture of my medicine cabinet. I have practically a pharmacy. I read research about things, and then if the research resonates with me, I'll buy that, whatever that is, amino acid or whatever the supplement is, a lot of herbs and stuff, and I'll explore with it and see how my body likes it. I've had to become my own doctor in order to resolve this stuff, and my own researcher. And to some degree, you're going to have to do this too. You're going to be doing part of the job a doctor normally does, and that's figuring out your dose. But that'll be the next conversation. We don't have to worry about that right now. Right now, we got to figure out what you need to get. So what you're going to want to do is grab a piece of paper, and or unless if you're watching this on a video, you might want to print out this page in the book, and actually look at your numbers and make a decision about whether your dopamine, serotonin, GABA, acetylcholine are high enough to warrant buying it. And if you're kind of questioning it, I'd say if you're over a 5 or 50, I would strongly recommend that you get it. If you're in the 30, if you're in the 5, if you're in the 3, if you're below 5, yeah, maybe it's not an issue right now. If you're not sure, get it and explore with it. Many of the bottles of stuff are inexpensive. Like the 5-HTP here is, I think it's like $8 or $6 US. Some are more expensive. This is a larger bottle, but you could get a smaller bottle. This is maybe $18 or something like that. So it's like, it's not a big amount. The cost is in the entry to it, but it changes your life so dramatically that once you get into it and you get it working, it's like, I don't care what it costs, I would do this. But my monthly costs for amino acids and brain regeneration might be around $25, $30 US a month. It's not high, but initially buying all the different things and the scale and the capsules, it seems overwhelming, it seems expensive, and it kind of is, but what it does for your life is revolutionary, and I've not found, and nobody else has found anything on the planet yet that does what these do. So I strongly recommend that you just do it. So here's how you're going to get that started. Figure out which one that you want and then circle that. So figure out if you're going to do dopamine. If your number's over 5, I recommend it. So write down dopamine if you're over 5. If your serotonin is over 5, I recommend you do that. Write down serotonin. If your GABA is over 5, I recommend you do that. Also, if you have sleep issues, even if your numbers aren't over 5 and you have sleep issues, get serotonin and GABA. They're magical for sleep. They really are. They're quite amazing. If you have any brain issues, so the question here is, if you're somewhere in the range of like 5 to 7, then maybe you just need the simple brain thing, the acetylcholine. Then that's all you need is the simple stuff. If your numbers are higher, if you're like 8 to up, then you're going to want to get the brain regeneration ones as well. And that's extensive. And you don't have to get them all at one time. You can get them in little stretches, but you want to get acetylcholine first. You want to get that definitely handled first. That stops a lot of the problems. It doesn't do regeneration, but it stops a lot of the problems. So you'll want to take care of that. Endorphins, don't handle that yet. Come back to that if you've done all of these for a couple months and it still isn't quite good, then do endorphins. Okay. Anybody have questions on that?
I'm not sure if I have questions. Just looking forward to experimenting with it.
Cool. Yeah. So here is the kind of the overview, the shortcut for it. Somebody who has all of these issues going on, and they have strong brain stuff going on, I'm going to recommend that they get all of these items here, all of them. So for if you have dopamine, tyrosine is the main one that activates about 80% of your energy circuits. Tyrosine, when you take tyrosine, you get the dose right, you know it. You just feel energized. You feel strong. It's kind of like when you've had caffeine, but it doesn't have the crash. Caffeine has a crash, and it actually has a negative impact in your body. Tyrosine won't have that crash. It just kind of fades away. L-phenylalanine does about 20% of the dopamine receptors. So I recommend that you get both of those. You'll start with tyrosine. You'll get that running first, and then you'll get L-phenylalanine added in there. But I recommend you buy both of those if you have dopamine going on. Serotonin, definitely get L-tryptophan. Definitely, without question, get L-tryptophan. 5-HTP, if you're financially strapped, I'd say you can wait on 5-HTP. If finances aren't a huge issue, I recommend you get it and explore with it. Tryptophan is the main one, and it seems to be very well received with the body. 5-HTP, and the dosing is very flexible. Like if you get too much of it, it's not a huge deal. 5-HTP feels a little bit synthetic in the body, and to some people. And if you take too much of it, you can actually have more emotional problems than you would normally have. If you take too much tryptophan, you just kind of start to feel sleepy. And so it's not a big deal. It's not confusing. It's like, I'm feeling sleepy, I probably have too much. You take too much 5-HTP and you can feel sketchy and random emotions kind of come up. It can be funky to try to figure out. For some people, not everybody has that effect. Some people, their body loves 5-HTP, but you don't know till you try it. So I recommend that you get both of those, but definitely L-tryptophan.
What is 5-HTP? I've never tried that.
5-HTP, so basically what happens is in the body, L-tryptophan is what you naturally get in food. Like you've probably heard that people talk about turkey has L-tryptophan, which makes you sleepy, which is not exactly true, but matter of fact, it doesn't have much L-tryptophan in it at all. But there are certain foods that have L-tryptophan in it. Your body takes L-tryptophan, converts it into 5-HTP, and then breaks it into other things. So scientists figured, well, let's just go straight to 5-HTP. And the problem is the body doesn't always engage it in a way that's optimal. But for some people, 5-HTP is like cat's meow. They just love 5-HTP. So it varies based on your body type. And I don't have enough research to be able to define. It's just play with it. If L-tryptophan isn't fulfilling enough for you, try 5-HTP alone, like instead of, or a little of both. Like for a while I used L-tryptophan wasn't enough for me, and so I used L-tryptophan with a little bit of 5-HTP in it, and I liked that. But then I used it for about a month, and then things started to get sketchy, so I dropped 5-HTP, and then I felt good again. So I'm cautious with 5-HTP.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So GABA, GABA is GABA. They don't do a good job of synthesizing GABA. What they do, what works great at creating GABA in the body is called L-theanine. L-theanine is something that's extracted from green tea. They get the leaves of green tea, and there's a component in green tea called L-theanine that does an amazing job of creating GABA in the body. So L-theanine, the body breaks it down and then produces GABA. There are products like GABA Soothe, which is the one that I recommend, and I'll look at the other ones later, that have L-theanine and other things in there. There are other herbs, there are other amino acids that you can take that also support the body creating GABA. So I like L-theanine, and many people really like L-theanine. GABA Soothe uses that as their main ingredient and adds a couple other things to it. I actually use both. I use this at night and I use this during the day, but I can take this during the day as well. It's just what I've ended up doing. So one one or both of those. You only need one of them though. Acetylcholine, if you have a lot of brain stuff going on, I'm going to recommend that you get a version of choline called CDP choline, and something called lion's mane mushrooms. It's a mushroom that actually grows on trees that looks like brain. It's like this hairy looking brain almost thing that actually does amazing stuff for regenerating the brain. And my body loves it. It's just like, wow, like this is really cool. I can't tell you I feel a difference, but my body really likes it. Yet even researchers have noticed there's a huge difference. And then vitamin B12 in a methylated form. It's called methyl B12. If you've got big brain stuff going on, I'm going to recommend you add these things. DHA, which is an omega-3. There's DHA and DHE, and there's usually in a balance. And I'll give you more detail on these. But Bacopa monnieri, vincopine, I've never tried to pronounce this, vinpocetine, something like that. Ginkgo biloba leaf, and I just call this PS because I can't pronounce it. Phosphatidylserine. These, and I'll talk more about these, but again, we're going to skip these. If you don't have a good multivitamin that also has minerals in it, I recommend you get one. I have one that they recommend, that this book recommends, that I recommend to you. My body doesn't care for it so much. I use something else that I can get you. But and melatonin, if you have issues sleeping, definitely get time release melatonin in about 3 milligrams. So what you do now is just make a list of the things that you want. Make a list of these things, and it's in the book on page 30. You can just print out the page and you don't have to write anything down if you want. So first make the list. Then here's how you figure out what to actually buy. When you go to further in the book, there are these sections, and this is where people often begin to blur out, and it gets kind of geeky because it's all in milligrams and details. And in the beginning, this is way overload, but you can just kind of skip by all this stuff and go to where it says supplements. And here I've listed tyrosine, which you already have on your list, is the first thing. And there's links here. This is a link to Amazon. So this is a link to a specific product that I recommend. You can use any of the products that are main name brand common products. Don't get Joe's amino acid or Backwoods amino acids, or like you can get a feel for it. Like it's like, what? So you want to get a name brand. Like Now is a very inexpensive but stable name brand. Jarrow is a name brand that I recommend. I should hold it up long enough you can actually see it. Doctor's Best is another name brand that I recommend, and the book lists all of these, so you don't have to worry about it. But you can just click on this. So Amazon, if you live in the United States, Amazon is really handy. If you live outside of the United States, Amazon does not ship supplements outside of the United States. So I recommend iHerb, who ships actually faster than Amazon. They ship the same day, whereas Amazon takes, well, kind of think about it, and they ship 2 or 3 days later, which irritates me. But the iHerb ships very quickly, and they have multiple warehouses around the planet where they'll ship from. So I often use iHerb. So you just click the link. It can be as simple as you click the link, it comes up on the web page, you hit buy. Like, allow it to be simple if that works for you. But you can also then search for other products that are similar, but be careful that it's a name brand and that it doesn't include other things with it. For instance, it may say L-tyrosine, but then you look and it has 20 other ingredients in there. You don't want 20 other ingredients. You want just L-tyrosine or it makes it really difficult to dose. Questions on that as a generic topic? Or questions so far?
Okay, how do you feel about Swanson's?
I have no experience with it. It's not on my name brand list, but you could try it. Here's the difference between name brands and not name brands. Name brands often have to be a little bit more in integrity with the filler they put in the capsule. Often, in order to put the powder in the capsule, so if they were to, let me show you. So this is my tryptophan. So you'll notice it doesn't fill the capsule. They fill capsules not by weight, they fill capsules by volume. So if the actual substance filled that high, the rest of that they would have to put filler in. The name brands generally use a cleaner or a safer filler. Often they'll use like rice flour or something of that nature. The other brands who are less reputable will use something cheaper, which in some cases is like a plastic derivative or some synthetic things as a filler. And some bodies have real issues with the filler. They don't react to the amino acid, they react to the filler in the amino acid. That's the issue we've had with off-brand. So you can try off-brand. Like if you have it really handy and you want to try it. And if it works fine for you, great. But name brand uses a cleaner filler generally. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Other questions? Okay, so when you go into the book, you're going to see lists of things you can buy. What I'm going to suggest at first is just get the ones that we showed that I had you write down here, this simple list. Dopamine, just these two. Start out, just those two. Serotonin, just this one or just those two. But when you get further into this, there's more refinement available. So for instance, rhodiola rosea, I just call it rhodiola, is a really great herb that doesn't do all of what tyrosine does, but it does a lot of it. And so there are times where I'll use just that, like sometimes in the evening I'll use just that, or my body just sometimes wants more than the tyrosine and L-phenylalanine provide. So I will use the tyrosine, L-phenylalanine, and the rhodiola. Or I'll use those two and uridine. Okay, but don't start with those. It just gets too overwhelming. You get too many bottles and you don't know what to do with it at all, and it gets overwhelming really quick. So in the beginning, just grab the main ones. Okay. In here, I have things to double check if you have high blood pressure, migraines. If you have migraines, don't start with dopamine. Start with your tryptophan first. Start with the serotonin first, and then go to this. And we'll handle that all. Let's just talk about buying stuff right now. So in terms of buying stuff for serotonin, you'll do tryptophan and or 5-HTP. But there are other things you can get, lithium orotate and St. John's wort in the GABA area. You'll get L-theanine or a GABA blend. Yep, that one's simple. Acetylcholine. So these sections basically give you more geeky details for things. But like for instance, there's two different things here. I'm going to recommend that you do the CDP choline if you got a lot of brain stuff going on. If you don't have a lot of brain stuff, you can use alpha GPC. I have both, and my body calls for both at times. But so if you got a lot of money and you don't mind exploring, or if you like exploring, you could try getting both. And body may, like sometimes my body wants this and this, or I'll take this in the morning and then I'll take this in the afternoon. But if you're being simple, start with CDP choline or acetylcholine. It's the same thing. One is a brand name, one is a genericness of it. And you just click the link here and it shows you something you can buy. Lion's mane mushrooms, there you go, just click the link. Methyl B12, you can get it all by itself or you can get it as a B complex. Either one of these, it's up to you. If your body wants more, I recommend the active B complex, but this is a minimum to get. And
Jaden?
yes.
I just wanted to say that I ordered from iHerb, and I really liked them. It was about $80, and then automatically they gave me 10% discount for my next purchase. So I have $8, $9 on hand for my next purchase.
Yeah.
I really like that.
And also, if you put in, let me see if I can find my code here. If you enter my code, you'll still get the amount for the next purchase. But if you're a first-time customer, or even sometimes if you're not a first-time customer, after you've put your products in the cart, you type in my code under coupon code Jaden, J-A-D 0195, and it'll add an extra 5% discount, which is, I don't know, I just think it's really cool. So I really like iHerb. I can't say enough good things about them. So that's why I recommend them. So yes, they do. They'll give you 10%. They give you a discount on your next order. It's their way of encouraging you to keep buying from them. But bottom line is you keep getting money back. So I like it. Yeah, thank you. So then the other thing, so when you're ordering, get powder in capsules. Get plain powder. I recommend it in the capsule, but if you want it cleaner that has no filler in it, you want the thing, I don't know if you can read it or not, but it's just powder, and it actually says on there powder. It's like, this is pure powder. And these don't have filler. The capsules may have some filler to it, but the capsules are easier and faster to utilize than the powder. This is, you got to be a bit more geeky, and you always have to use a scaler. It's more, I don't know, I find this a little slower to make capsules with than from existing capsules. Avoid caplets or pills. Some things you can't avoid sometimes, but all the things I give you for the most part are just powder or capsules. Actually, I think I always link to capsules. Name brands, Jarrow, Now, or Doctor's Best are name brands. You're going to want to get empty capsules. You can buy them in a local store sometimes, or you can buy them online in a bag. And you want to start with, I recommend size 1 and size 00. If you want to just get one of them to start, get size 1. And then you don't, most things you can do with size 1 capsules. And then you're going to want to get a scale. It's a little scale, and I have a link here. Amazon is the only place that I know of that has it. If you're in they're jeweler scales. If you don't want to get through Amazon, you can search for scales. You're looking for one that says jeweler scale 0.001 gram or 0.001 milligram. You want to see 3 digits there, not 01. Some just say 01. That won't work for you. You need a jeweler scale that has 001. Okay, that's important. And I'm going to say having a scale is essential. Get a scale, order it today, order it now. It's not expensive. This is like $23 US, I think. You'll be glad you did. You really will. Manipulation, and you'll see in this thing here, I got this little bug character. Manipulation loves messing with people who don't have scale in screwing up their doses. When you have a scale, manipulation cannot screw with you because you know, I need 80 grams. You can measure it out, you can take it, and no matter how much manipulation screws with you, bam, you got exactly what you need. When you don't have that, Manipulation will encourage you to take more, will confuse you, will do all kinds of things. When you have a scale, it gets solid, and you can figure things out so much easier. It saves you a lot of headache and a lot of hassle, and manipulation just can't mess with you because, bam, you know exactly what you're doing. So there is a learning curve to doing all this, and it does seem like a lot, but it's going to eliminate manipulation's capacity to mess with you. It's worth it. What store? You can get it at your local store, or order it online. If you can find it in your local store, it can be quicker to do that. So that's my long-winded thing. I'm sorry this is so big.
I wanted to ask a question about B complex.
Yes.
I apologize. I want to ask a question about B complex.
Yep.
I've never found a B complex that my body really liked. It always like it backs up. It's like medicine-y. And do you have one that your body likes?
I do have one that my body likes. It's over on my counter over there. I don't have it in the booklet yet because I don't have, I do, and if you email me, I can send you a link. It's actually a multivitamin. So what I found for B vitamins as well as multivitamins, and if you find that in general you don't like multivitamins, you may not like the one that that the Mood Cure lady recommends that I put in here, because I needed to just put something that was foundational. I've since recently found vitamins that are more naturally sourced. They come from more vegetable than chemical source, and my body likes taking them more. I still also don't think that the body needs vitamins in the way that, like they say, take it once or twice a day. Frankly, trust your body on vitamins. I don't think your body needs that much. Researchers say the vitamin only stays in your body for this length of time. I don't think it's true. I don't think they get the whole picture, because my body will skip a day quite regularly. It'll take vitamins every other day or every third day. So I would trust your body on it.
Okay, I'll send you an email.
Yeah, send me an email. I will ultimately get it in this book. It just hasn't made it into the book yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions on this? I know I've thrown a lot at you, but we're going back to the goal today, or the goal now is just to order your scale, your empty capsules, and any of the items from this list here. Questions?
Jaden, I take a lot of herbs through a naturopath who tests a lot for me. Sometimes I talk to him weekly, and he's always monitoring what I take. And so I'll probably get him to help me with this. So I guess the best thing is if I just order everything and then go from there. Or
Now, recognize that everybody has their own biases, and I'm not going to say that this person has biases, but amino acids has become a specialty, and unless people have explored with that, to them amino acids is something bodybuilders take, and they'll be like, oh, no. So if they have a superficial knowledge of amino acids, they'll be like, you don't need amino acids. They're bodybuilders take those. So just you can introduce the topic and feel them out. But I'm actually also going to assist you with dosing. I will.
Yeah, so
I would not
be working in, lots of.
But it's worth mentioning it to them. But be aware that so many people don't know about it. All they have are their biases, and so their their viewpoints are not necessarily going to be useful.
So he muscle tests, and he knows me well. For example, when I mentioned your name, that I was having a session with you, he said, "Oh, that test's strong."
Cool.
So,
cool.
Yeah. Kind of.
But again, it is I want to.
He also has his
biases. Yep.
Yeah.
As long as you're aware of biases, you can navigate all of it. Yep. It's helpful to have another person do muscle testing with you, though it's not necessary. It's a nice thing to get a read on your body. Yeah.
Thanks.
I also want to get you to a space, and we'll do that through this course, where you learn how to do that by yourself as well. And manipulation gets involved, but there's ways to work around manipulation. So ultimately, we'll explore with that. Anybody else? Questions? Cool. So if you do have questions, feel free to email me. I've worked with a lot of people on this. I have a lot of experience with all of the details, and I can very easily and readily analyze and figure out almost any issue that you have going on with stuff. I've lived enough of them my own. So like, I know how all this works. So if you do have questions, email me. I can very quickly answer a lot of things. So, so your task now is to purchase your amino acids, purchase your scale. I just want to show you a picture of what that looks like. Purchase your scale, and purchase your little capsules. Ideally, you want the number 1 size. They come in different sizes. So start with those items. Get that stuff in. It often takes about a week or sometimes more. And then next week we'll meet again, and I'll give you more information on how to do the dosing, how to test it, how to find what your dose is. Don't just take them when they come, because they often are too much. You'll take it and you'll be like, and I don't want you to experience that. I want you to find what your dose is, and so we'll do that in the next video. Well, thank you everybody for joining me, and happy shopping, and we'll catch you on the next video.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.